I should have plugged that up. Oh,
Is it gonna die?
I'm charging.
Thank you, everybody, for joining this live. I'm your host, Myki Angeline. This is live, front and center video podcast with the Women's International Music Network. I am excited to welcome F.E.W. to the podcast. In fact, I met Notaboi DJ at NAMM earlier this year. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So let's start off, because I know we got a book to talk about in your careers, but let's start off by introducing yourselves one at a time, please.
So I'm Notaboi DJ, also known as Fire. So I'm the F in F.E.W.
I'm DJ Kelly J, also known as Earth. I'm the earthy one.
And I'm Angie T, also known as WiMN.
And then a little bit about what you do that added to this book, because I know we've got emcees, we've got radio DJs, we've got music DJs. Well, I guess it's radio personality, music DJs, right?
Yeah, so I am a radio DJ. I still DJ like corporate, private, all those types of events, but mainly I'm a radio DJ.
I do a little bit of everything, but I'm also a radio DJ as well. More so a wider range though. I do sports, I do clubs, I do lounges. I teach a DJ course at a university, and I just kind of float around and do a lot of community stuff too. So I'm kind of all over the place.
And I started out in radio. Then I started my own event hosting business. So that's anywhere from galas, festivals, pageants, fashion shows, brunch, things of that sort.
So incredible entrepreneurs, incredible voices, which brought you together for this incredible book you've released, Bars and Beats, Ladies of the Night. It's a fierce guide to owning your power in music, radio, and event hosting. So what birthed this idea, and were you all friends before this happened?
Yes. So we met all together at the radio station, 88.1, and just built a friendship throughout the years and did a lot of events together, hung out together, took trips together. And I was just like, hey, we should write a book. And they kind of blew me off. And then some months passed, and Angie was like, you know, my spirit ancestor said we should write a book, so let's do it. And Kelly was like, okay.
Now, is that what also birthed the website? All that kind of came together?
Yep.
Nice.
So
and I love it.
We had already formed a few, but
Okay.
we hadn't thought about like we need a website. We just were doing events. But then when the book came about, we was like, oh, we got to get serious.
Right.
So yeah.
Now, how long did it take you to write this book?
Like 2-3 months.
That's it?
It was okay, closer to 4 months.
See, that was meant to be. Some people, it takes months and years. Really? That is quick. So now I see in this question, the chapters of your book are structured like a vinyl record. You want to share the significance of why you came up with that format?
Well, we tried to keep everything very musical. So we thought about it, instead of having chapters, we were like, we're going to have tracks. And so in each track, each of us has a verse. So that's it. It's not that deep.
But that makes sense. I've never seen anything like that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Also her idea.
You're like, and also hers. So here, let's show everybody what we're talking about. Yes. Right?
Yeah.
So and this is from your website. I love this cover, by the way.
Thank you.
That is beautiful and powerful at the same time.
That's a whole nother book of how long it took us to come up with that design.
Yeah, I was
really.
That was me. Like I wanted to make sure that any of our images, any of our like marketing materials, it has to be A1. So we collaboratively, we went through so many edits on that book cover. Oh my goodness.
So then how long did it take though?
I think the book cover took longer than to write the book.
The book cover took longer. It did. Just about. Yeah.
We were hiring people and firing people, and concepts were changing, and it was rough.
Well, you went through great, because that book is, I love that cover. That makes me want to get it even before I knew you. Like I said, because I saw you, I didn't see you, but I went to your booth. I missed a chance to buy it, but it looked so powerful just sitting there. Now, on this next question, the collaborative process between the three of you in writing it, were there challenges when it came to what to put in, what not to put in, and finding that balance?
I think the hardest thing was our schedules, just keeping a consistent schedule to finishing it together. We all have our own businesses, like life is life for everybody, and just sticking to the deadlines was a bigger challenge. I think our putting the chapters to the actual like topics for the chapters, I don't think that took that long, but it was just actually finishing each chapter that took longer.
And I think it was even the words, because we had to have a certain amount of words for each track.
Yeah.
So our advisor was like, okay, you need this many words. So I'm like, oh my God, it's not enough words.
It's almost like writing music and writing a song.
Yeah.
So then how did you decide what you should put in there? Like, what was the overall theme of each chapter that you knew what you wanted in there? Was it fitting together like how an album is a story?
I would say, yeah, we kind of already knew which stories we were doing together. So there are some stories in the book where we're all in each other's perspective. Like it's the same story in 3 different perspectives. And then there are our individual stories. So we knew which stories we were putting in that we experienced together. And then it was just really filling out the book with our individual stories that kind of took a little bit more time.
Okay. And then looking back, so like going back to your website, because like I said, I absolutely love the breakdown of how you all got into the industries that you did that led to the writing of this book. So like, okay, so Angie, it says you're queen of the mic. You're the event host and your MC, the radio personality. You have so many, I'm reading so many things that you did, but you entered that you had no mentor or a roadmap. So then what did you use as inspiration? Who did you use as inspiration? And where you chose the path that you needed to get to where you are today?
That's a great question. I feel like guidance came in small increments or like situations. So when we were talking a little bit offline about the radio station, so that station is a smaller station, so you're going to have your hands in a lot of things. And so not only are you on air, you're going to learn how to produce, you're going to learn how to MC. They had an event every Friday, and you just get thrown on in there. And so I would just watch. One of the hosts there, Simply T, I would always watch him because I thought he was an amazing MC. So I would try to watch, like, how do you do this? How do you sustain? What are you doing? Right. So there were people that once I was like, okay, this is cool. I can ask them a couple questions to pick their brains and just see how I can apply that to what I was doing. So that was help enough. But did I have a person along the way to be like, hey, I see you're an MC here. How do I get on? That did not exist. I use a lot of discernment as well. So learning how to let go and walk away from situations also helped me along my path, because if you don't know how to let go or move on to the next chapter, then there probably won't be as much growth. And so I had to learn. Life taught me. Life and the people that I've met along the way have helped kind of shape this.
And then being an MC, that takes a lot of bravado and performance and just being able to talk to people and direct people and to engage people. Have you always been this way, or was radio something that kind of opened that up in you?
I never really, I didn't know. So I came from my grandmother, my mother, they all were pastors and like speakers that traveled the world to do it. So I never really found the space for me to do that. So I didn't know how to tap into it until I started radio and I started like using it and doing it often. So, yeah.
Well, that's good. Okay. Now, Notaboi DJ, because when we met at NAM, you were spinning there at NAM, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think my coworker Vanessa came out, I think, and went to one of your events, I believe, and told me all about it. I missed it because I was busy doing things too. But you do this. You also are a DJ on the radio as well, and you have your hands in many other projects. Share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so NAM was so dope. DJ Shorty, she's one of my mentors, and so last year she invited me to come and be a part of the Scratch Like a Girl showcase with techniques. And I came back to Vegas and I was telling Kelly and Angie way before the book had even became a thing. I was like, we have to go back to NAM, blah, 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 blah. And so fast forward, we wrote the book. And then I was like, we definitely have to go to NAM. And so went to NAM, and then I had all those different opportunities. And NAM just opens up your eyes to so many different things. It's like, look at what they're doing in Tokyo. It's like, it just makes you see how big the world is when it comes to music, and everybody came together. So music and DJing is like my number one focus. Also, I have a tea business, and I, of course, am an author now.
Of course, you're an author now. So what got you into the tea business? I absolutely love tea, by the way, so I would totally buy your tea.
Yeah, so my mother is an herbalist, and I grew up with tea. Tea is like my medicine. I'm not really a let me drink a cup of tea. I'm like, oh, I'm sick, I need tea. So I launched that business during the shutdown because everybody was going crazy with COVID. And I was like, what? We're here to live the human experience. We have to get sick, but we should know how to kind of heal ourselves. And, so people always call me for recipes and different remedies. And Kelly, I'm like, drink some of this. This is for your liver. We drink too much. You need to drink liver tea. So I was like, I'm going to start a tea business. So yeah.
Look at Notaboi DJ healing folks through music and tea. I love it. I love it. So now DJ Kelly J, reading off of your website, Sound Visionary. You were born in Detroit, but you got your career not here. I'm in Sacramento, but there in Vegas, because you did do radio, but you also, I'm eyeing the fact that you were spinning for the Vegas Aces, which I love, and BET and Nike. What was it like working with the major labels?
Honestly, I could have never imagined doing any of it, and just about every single one was really nerve-wracking. Like in the book, I kind of talk about the anxiety that I get with most of my gigs. But like after like the first like 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, I can do this. I'm good. But they're all equally fun. Definitely experiences I'll cherish forever. Yeah, I mean that's really it.
And then so using all that is why this is a guide for those in these industries. So then, being that this is Women's History Month, you're with the Women's International Music Network podcast, the question always comes up is, how can men be better allies for all of us in this industry, especially with, as you put, with music and nightlife?
So I think there are different perspectives to how the men move in the industry, and they're not so great. Honestly, what we're witnessing, we're in 2025, but we're witnessing in like these last 5 years is the women are getting in managerial positions. They're getting in presidential positions. They're the CEOs, the COOs, the owners, and there's a lot more unity. But I think it's because, a lot of these men deal with ego problems, honestly. Like, we have some phenomenal men in the industry, but they're too engulfed in ego to lend a hand to other men. And on the other hand, we have these men in power that are manipulating the power. They're abusing their power when it comes to the women that are trying to get in the industry. So I think it's an equal level of, balancing ego and just maintaining respect of your peers. Like, we're not here to mess around or do whatever, especially if we're like dope at what we do and we're dope at what we do. You got to come correct. The men, I feel they're going to suffer the most. The men that are not in the industry that are trying to get in are going to suffer the most, because the women are getting in the industry and we're supporting each other and we're uplifting each other and we're lending out support and we're lending out resources to other women. So what's going to happen with the men? I think the men really have to take these last couple of years as a wake-up call to do better.
Oh, there's a question. Look at that. Oh, not question, but Christine, welcome in the chat, by the way. So from NAM, from Women's International Music Network. Yeah. That's just such a good way to put it. I know, I don't know if you were there at the panel that I spoke on, Notaboi DJ, but I heard this quote from, I was taking a Women X course, and there was a quote that had said that men are always judged, or not always, but mostly men are judged by their potential and women judged by their past. And I've seen that in radio.
Ooh.
It's where the chance is taken on the man
Can I
and the
write that down?
potential. Yeah, write it down. Men are often judged by their potential. Women are often judged by their past. So I've seen it where you've seen this too, those in radio where they will get the contracts, the deals, the endorsements based on potential, whether or not they've been fired a million times, whether or not they've tanked the station before they came there. But for us women, we're having to work 2-3 times as hard. Like you said, it's 2025, and we're still viewed as second-class citizens to certain people, the ones that are in power, not all men, but usually the ones that are in power. And we've seen this right now in the state of where the US is today. So with that question on how they can be better allies is get out of their own way. Stop putting themselves on such high pedestals and just work from an even playing field, because that's what DEI was meant to do, is to make it an even playing field.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyone else have something else to put in on that question?
No, she said it good.
Do we just cover it?
Yeah, y'all
So
got
then,
it.
so then, okay, this was a good one. And I like this question about staying balanced to your true identity while navigating in this industry, right? Because, and this kind of piggybacks on this last question, as women, when we are kind of told to be in a certain mold or expected to be in a certain mold, because for some whatever reason, certain jobs, certain titles seem to have a gender attached to it on who does a better job. So then how do you find that balance of being true to who you are and what you can do in the world and in your industry?
Okay, I think that is a universal thing. Honestly, even if, regardless if you're making content, if you're pushing yourself, your tribe will find you. Who you are and the service you provide and the vibes that you create, people will connect with that and they will gravitate to that. And there's really not a concern. So as far as like, another MC, we can stand right next to each other because we're not the same. We offer different experiences when we host. Same thing with DJs. People think it's really about just plugging in and press and play, and it's way more to it than that. So being confident in who you are and what you have to offer and not swaying away from that or trying to copy or be like somebody else. That is what we mean when we say, own your power and stand in it.
That's a good point. Not comparing yourself to other people and using that as a measuring stick for yourself. That is so good. Christine, again, look at that. Are gals doing things to help others in music? Well, we are, Christine.
All the time. I mean, we talk about that in our book as well. DJ Kelly J is teaching a workshop at UNLV for free. And and it's free. And
so hard to keep it free.
Yeah. And we mentor people all the time. We give each other gigs all the time. Like, hey, are you busy? Can you take this gig? And it's not like I want 10%. It's like, no, here. You need me to come help you set up? Or, it's all 100%, nothing, no strings attached. And that's how it should be. And I think that's what we're trying to like make it as a normal thing. We're trying to shift the narrative. Like, you don't have to be so competitive. It's easy when you're not.
So easy.
Yeah. Well, and it all comes down to trust, because you will trust each other, that you'll have each other's back, that you'll be there for each other, that you'll lift each other up and enjoy when each other shine, right? It's about trust. I think that's where those certain men, of course, not all men, but certain men, I think it just comes from absolute insecurity to have to be better or to have to be the best because they fear they're not. It's that imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it comes from upbringing but the patriarchy. I know some people just shy when they hear that word, but we're talking centuries of women. It took us a while to come from believing that we were property to accepting that we had something to give. I mean, I bring this up every time. It was not that long ago that women, it wasn't until the 70s or the late 60s, that we weren't allowed to get home loans or checking accounts without our husband's approval and signature, which means if we weren't married, we weren't allowed. This is law.
That was
here
like
in the US.
The 80s or the 70s. It was like 76 or 84 or something.
It was Yeah, it was the 70s when that finally ended. That's, and it's insane when you think about that, but that's where it was. And then you look in job in the paper for applying for work, there were two columns, jobs for women and jobs for men. And you couldn't apply for a job if it was under the men column. So that is hundreds of years of oppression that we've had to lift ourselves out of, and which is why I think we have such a community and why we pull together, because we had to, and it almost feels like we still have to. So it's just, and I praise any and all men that I know that I work with that are all about just level even the field and support everybody and be the ones to raise the voice for women when they know that women are being shut down in the room or in the conversation or at the table.
Yes, and we
That's
actually
like
had
the
a
biggest
conversation
thing.
with a guy at NAM about that. He had came to the booth and we were talking about what the book is about, and he said, "Oh, that's still a thing for women." Like,
Yeah, he was surprised.
you're probably the one.
Wait, say that again.
He was surprised when we were saying like the disparities that women have to go through as far as like competing and equal pay and things like that. He was like, "Oh, that's still a thing for women," and we're just
Yeah.
like, "What? You are
Yeah.
probably pushing this agenda. Like, if you don't know, then you're clearly a part of it."
Well, it's almost like an ignorance, because he's thinking it shouldn't be that way. So how could it be that way? And then perhaps he just doesn't ask the questions or takes a look around to know that it's there. It almost sounds like, if he's reacting that way, it's like, yeah,
Which still contributes to it.
it completely contributes to it. The ignorance doesn't help at all. It's like, please. But hey, if he's there to hear the conversation, and maybe in the next conversation he has with somebody, he's educating himself on someone else, then you all did a great thing with that. So then, okay, let me ask this. Do you see this book as a starting point for larger conversations or movements, kind of piggybacking off of what we just said? Your book, because are you doing a tour with this book right now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
One of the things at NAM again was we had a lot of professors and people from the schools kind of come up to us and tell us how much is needed and how we need to like apply to, either have the books at the school or come and give a panel to their students, and then women, to the people who want to go get into the industry, because this book outlines a lot of things that may not be in your average textbook about music in the industry and how to actually navigate. Any entrepreneur, a lot of times there isn't a playbook. You're just trying to figure it out, especially if you're a first generation. So we try to cover as much things as we could to give you a head start.
I love that. And especially from the different point of views that you all shared earlier in this podcast of where you came from with your careers. I think, shoot, now you had my brain going, because I realized when I order the book for myself, I think I need to order a few also, because the Girls Rock Sacramento here in Sacramento, we have a library that students and campers can check books out. So I feel like we need to get your books in that library.
Yes.
And maybe even, you know what? Maybe even if it's not too late, and this is totally up to you, I can send you the link. If you want to you can always do a Zoom workshop if you want to talk about the book and talk about any questions our campers might have. There's something you can do, not just like all the GRSA. You were looking on that earlier. I told you camps all across the world. Maybe you can offer Zoom.
I'm coming. I'm fine. I'm coming. I'm not Zoom.
She's like, I'm gonna be there.
I got a friend in Sacramento that wants me to come anyways. I will be there.
You're like, let's do it. And then so in wrapping this up, and this is always, it's a question that's always asked, but I think it's a good one, especially at being where we are in our careers. If you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be individually? Go ahead and share.
Mine is kind of the same. Leave those boys alone. That's all.
Well, I think that's a good one. I think that's probably, yeah. I think that I'm gonna go with what Kelly said.
Was that a struggle?
No, for me personally, I kind of got out into the world young. I got married at 17. I'm not married anymore. But I think if I wouldn't have, I would be so much further, because when I got my divorce is when everything happened. I bought my house, became a DJ, started a TV business. I was like, I should have done this a decade ago, but here we are.
And that kind of lets you know like the state of relationships. Like women, I don't think women like their first thing is to get married and do the family thing and still kind of keep some piece of themselves. But so many people, so many women are getting lost in their relationships that they're losing their dreams and they're, kind of held back and they're kind of forgetting what they love to do. And people are just like, you know what? I'm gonna be single. Let's just, and they're, and it's sad. It's good, but it's sad. It shouldn't be like that. Relationships are always supposed to be a good thing, but society, and American society specifically, has us all messed up. We all
It is. And see,
And-
I'm
go
agreeing
ahead.
with you. Okay, yeah, leave them alone. But then also, it took a second for me to want to do things by myself because I was waiting for other people to do it with me. I was waiting, before I went to my first networking event alone, I was waiting for other people and their schedules to clear up. I was waiting to start traveling by myself. I was waiting for these things. Like, girl, just do it.
just do
That
it
is
like
a good one. And I think especially for us being, not the Gen Zers and not the Alpha generations, we come from, and especially being women of color, we come from upbringings where, like you talked about it, it's important to get married and have kids. I mean, that was, as far as being Filipino, that was heck oppressed on me growing up. And I think I definitely, for my advice to myself would be to put myself first sometimes, because I love to give and I love to take care of others, but I always pushed anything I wanted to do or what I needed to do aside to do for others. And the advice would be like, girl, do it for you and go do it now, because time goes by a lot quicker than you think it does. Because I was married too at one point, and then I came out and then I got divorced. I mean, I have a daughter from all of it, but it was like, it wasn't until I put myself first, doors started to open for me, and I found myself in this industry. That would not have happened had I stayed married and had I not come out, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this younger generation, though, I tell you, working in these camps, these younger people, they really are not. Relationships, most of them, it's like the
No,
furthest thing from their minds.
I'm excited for them. I was like, they're going to take over the world quickly.
We need them now, but I can wait till later. I hope it happens before I die. So then before we go here, let me make sure people see this. So this is your website where people can go and order the book and learn more about y'all. Now, can people also book you for events individually as well?
Yeah. You can just go straight through the email for the website, and it's thefewfromvegas@gmail.com. And I know the young lady earlier was asking if we help other women. They can always email us if they want us to come speak or help or anything like that.
Perfect. And then, of course, this will be on the article later. Make sure you visit thewimn.com, sign up for our newsletter. We always have showcases, the She Rocks Awards, events happening throughout the year. Ladies, thank you so much for being here and taking the time. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.